The International Falls Office will begin to be reduced in staff after we have picked up all the forecast and warning responsibility from them, which would be after we commission the radar, and which would be sometime probably in 1996.
Anytime, but especially in the wintertime, you want to make sure, number one, that your car is prepared. You know, that the radiator is properly charged with antifreeze, and you got oil in your car, and tires are good. You have good tread in your tires. That they're properly inflated. You got a spare in the trunk.
They won't help us, they're all against us.
I would like to see them out of here. They came in here with a lot of promises. They told us they would never pollute in 1,000 years because they told us they were going to be a very valuable corporate citizen. They have done none of those.
If we can end people's smoking habits, if we can change our recycling habits and become concerned about the environment, I really believe that we can make a change in violence against women.
The mail will be out there, and so anyone that wants to see the tiger will have to come out tomorrow because it will be off display for the next several months until the exhibit is completed and they can get grass out there. And we all know how long it takes to grow grass in springs.
With the Blotnick Bridge closure, traffic between Duluth and Superior has been thick near both ends of the Bong Bridge. Police will be watching those areas closely tonight.
We beef up our patrols down in the bar areas and through the major thoroughfares through the city. Avoid the drunk drivers or get the drunk drivers before they hurt someone.
The Minnesota Patrol says if you need to be out on the roads tonight, drive defensively.
You've got to anticipate what other drivers are doing, allow yourself extra room, drive at a reasonable speed to prevent accidents. You know, all this will come into play.
More people are taking cabs or having a designated driver when their New Year's celebration includes alcohol. But drinking and driving continues. More than 200 people were killed in alcohol-related accidents last year in the state of Minnesota. Over half of those killed were not wearing their seatbelts. One of the biggest mistakes drivers make is thinking they're okay to drive after having a couple of drinks.
No one expects to be caught for drinking and driving or be involved in an accident. It always happens to someone else. But things happen so quick, and your physical abilities are tremendously reduced once you start drinking any amount of alcohol.
Many area bars offer free non-alcoholic drinks to designated drivers, and extra taxi cabs will be available tonight to carry partygoers home safely into the new year. Gina Katzmark, News 6.
We're trying to remember the good things that have happened in the past year, whatever that might be to each individual family. It's of their own choice. And we're also trying to pay tribute to and remember those loved ones that were lost in plane Flight 5719 on December the 1st. An envelope with $50 chamber bucks to spend as you see fit. And thank you for participating. We really enjoy it.
Thank you.
We're proud of you. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you for joining us tonight.
Over 300 Northlanders attended Duluth's first City Council meeting for 1994. Mayor Gary Doty's State of the City address was the main attraction. Doty asked Duluthians to think of the city as a $146 million business.
You're a customer of the City of Duluth, just as you're a customer of a repair shop or a grocery store. You're also a director of the City of Duluth, in that your input and participation are needed to make the city operate better.
Two newly elected city councilors had some thoughts on the mayor's presentation.
I thought Mayor Doty was very forceful and straightforward. I've known the mayor for quite some time and like him, and I think he knows me personally, and I think we'll be able to work along together just fine.
I'm not into evaluating the mayor. I'm really interested in working with the council and getting some things going.
The only area in the speech where the mayor seemed to stumble noticeably was when he talked about an old political issue, the Bayfront Mall.
Unfortunately, there is yet another effort underway by a few citizens to oppose this park expansion.
The last issue Mayor Gary Doty talked about was the newly created Duluth Vision 2001, a 12 to 15-month citizens-driven process in which the community will be asked for their feedback regarding Duluth's future. In Duluth, Chip Wallace, News 6.
Activities, it highlights and accents what we have in the city of Duluth, in addition to, of course,
We'd ask the public to take part in all of these activities. There's something for everyone, I think.
Winter Sports Festival in the city. It's important that we have activities like this in the city of Duluth. As I go around and as I get an opportunity to travel around the country occasionally, people say, why do you want to live in Duluth? And I say, because we have 4 distinct seasons. And there's something to do year-round, and certainly I think winter runs a close, almost right up there with summertime in the city of Duluth because of the activities that we provide.
We think that would be unfortunate, but as long as he's complying with the laws, he certainly can do it. It's the future possibilities for Bayfront Park. And if the mayor refuses to do it because he's angry with us or angry with citizen concern over his project, we think that's a shame.
They don't know how to tell the truth because that's an absolute lie. We've been working with the people from Lake Superior Center from the very beginning. The whole scheme and the drawings that you've seen thus far are a result of working very closely with them.
We don't agree with any kind of maltreatment of any individual regarding their behavior or belief system. Our problem with this is namely that we see these speakers coming in, and they are going to have some effect on students and possibly sway them to this homosexual behavior, and I really believe it's a behavior.
I mean, I don't know why people think that gays and lesbians are out recruiting, or, you know, and the big issue is that people choose, you know, and that's such nonsense, and that's part of our message, you know. My son wanted desperately not to be what he was, and that's true of, that's the story of most gays and lesbian people.
Doug Swingley is well on his way to winning this year's Bear Grease. He's got a good lead, a fresh team of dogs, and a desire to continue the Swingley tradition. His brother Greg has won the last 2 Bear Grease races, but don't expect to see the Swingleys back in the race next year.
Races, we try to win every race we ever enter, but as far as a Bear Grease tradition, 3 years is probably enough. We probably won't come back next year. If we do, it'll be in the form of probably Jesse.
17-year-old Jesse Royer is the youngest musher in this year's race, a Swingley Brothers protege. The Montana native is racing well with help from an impressive handling crew, a crew including Greg Swingley. And with last year's winner behind the scenes, the spotlight this year is on his brother.
Doug Swingley says he feels confident he's going to win this year's Bear Grease, but he's not surprised to be in the lead. He says he and his dogs trained a long time for this year's race, and it's that relationship that helped get and keep him the lead.
I knew there were some good teams, but this team can do just about anything. So, and I think everybody, they didn't want to call me the favorite because Greg, of course, would have been the favorite, my brother. But I think if you'd asked the mushers, I think they pretty much knew.
A well-deserved reputation. Doug Swingley's dogs were in excellent shape this afternoon at the Finland checkpoint.
Man, it's amazing to me how his team looked pretty fresh coming into this checkpoint, and very often the top teams will almost seem to be more rested or look more chipper than teams that are farther back.
And while the Swingleys have room to be confident, they know the race isn't over. There's more than 100 miles left to run on what's been called one of the toughest courses in the country. On the Bear Grease Trail, Stephanie Guadian, News 6.
I believe it's a service that's probably necessary here on the hillside with the streets being so congested with snow and the cold weather and whatnot. What we're trying to do here is provide a service whereby we can keep our prices down and still get the groceries to the customer.
Allied taxi. Oh, just about a half hour here. We're running pretty consistent with being a half hour late.
Firefighters were called to the restaurant before 6 o'clock this morning and found the building in flames.
It was discovered by an employee coming to work in the kitchen area. Initial response found fire in the kitchen area.
That employee was janitor Raymond Roberts.
Walked in this morning, it was okay. I went down to the basement. When I came back up, the kitchen was on fire. That's about all there was. It started from the kitchen.
Restaurant employees believe the fire, which took 3 hours to contain, may have started in a deep fryer, but will have to wait to hear an official cause. Firefighters battled the blaze and cold temperatures, hovering near 20 degrees below zero. A city bus was used as a warming station for fire personnel and employees who came to work, who could only watch the building burn. 84-year-old Ray Scarlett owns the gift shop adjacent to the restaurant, the Scarlet Dragon. He and his grandson came to investigate the shop he's owned for years.
I'm really not sure money-wise, thousands of dollars, because of course he has a lot of Oriental collectibles in there that he's had from over the years.
Meanwhile, the owners of the restaurant and nightclub aren't sure where they'll go from here.
We know the damage on the second floor is very severe. We don't know what it is on the first floor. We have to get in, and once the fire's out, get in and see where we're at and start making some decisions.
Owned and operated by Wing Hui, the restaurant and bar have been at 2nd Street and 4th Avenue West for over 20 years, the same site of the former athletic club, which was also destroyed by fire. Once the damage is calculated, the family will decide if the Lantern and the Phoenix will rise from the ashes. In Duluth, Derek Hines, News 6.
Daddy wasn't always there. Grandma wasn't there either, neither were my brothers and sisters. You're talking about places like Chicago, Detroit, New York.
Message you want to give to them?
Well, I think the main message for them is to believe in themselves, and more importantly, to depend on themselves. And don't use all the different problems we have in society as a crutch, and to step above that and go on with your life.
Although we asked them to come to the table in May, they didn't show up until September, yet their proposal was dated April 15th. Why?
President Clinton add to his trip.
We've asked the teachers unit numerous times, are we at an impasse? And they've continued to say no, that we want to continue to bargain. It remains to be seen where we will go from here.
Single after single, and that's what it takes to continue on with economic growth. President Clinton, he got Mrs. Clinton to work on a health care insurance program. Right now, health care accounts for 1/7 of the gross national product. By year 2030, it could be 30, 40, 50%. That must not happen, should not happen. That would be an economic catastrophe. See your doctor takes your temperature. Temperature goes up, it tells you something about your
broadcast on Minnesota Public Radio stations in the Northland, WSEN 100.5 FM in the Twin Forks, and on WIRR 90.9 FM on the Iron Range.
This is another piece of property. This is his deer
When
stand
Jim Fetters
and
bought
his
40
corner
acres of
right
land
here
just
of his
outside
property.
Barnum, he knew the property had a Williams pipeline running through it. What he and other landowners did not know is that the company's easement agreement was vague enough to allow employees to use as much land as they deemed necessary for maintenance.
It does not state 35 feet, 100 feet, anything. And they say, okay, all we need is 100 feet right now. Well, what's to say in 5, 10 years they can't come down the road and take another 100 feet and another 100 feet and just keep going on and on. I mean, there's nothing to say that they can't take all of our land from us.
The private property owners claim the pipeline company has cut too many trees in an effort to maintain their oil and gas line.
This is why we wanted it hand cut and piled. What kind of a mess, you can't do anything with that. And this is supposed to be his pasture.
For nearly 40 years, the Williams pipeline has maintained a 35-foot area along the pipeline, but just last October, that area grew to 100 feet, and landowners want to know why.
They can see the ground without being 100 feet wide. They've done it for years.
Company officials say the extra land is needed for safety and access. Meantime, Fetters, Christensen, and other landowners decided to challenge the pipeline company's sweeping easement. Both sides met last night, along with State Senator Florence Chmielewski, to try and hammer out their differences.
You're not going to cut one of my trees down when I had it on that pipe.
After much debate, Williams Pipeline Company officials agreed to modify the blanket agreement, an example of what can happen when a community stands up for its rights. In Barnum, Stephanie Guadian, News 6.
We have made significant changes. We have reduced the number of units of housing.
It's undeniable. It's acknowledged, as I said, all the way up through city. This need in Duluth is Moyer.
And it's our intent to show that respect and love to help families that are suffering with a variety of personal problems to grow and to raise their families and to become an important part of this community. We have Larry Stover with planning.
We have a housing task force that's working out in Lakeside, and I've talked extensively.
And we need site control before we can make final applications for the dollars. I understand the concern that you have over the properties. It's also
you know, who knows? I might need to be out picketing. Well, that has always been one of our questions, is where does their money come from? When you start doing that, it gets a little bit beyond your First Amendment rights. And so I think we'll be looking at the law, and if we need to use it, we'll be using it.
Drive
through Duluth, and chances are you'll notice and be impressed by somebody's house. They seem to be everywhere. Big, old, beautiful homes. The city wants to recognize the area's oldest homes through a new program called
the Duluth Heritage Preservation Commission Centennial Home.
At a news conference this morning, which incidentally was held in a home that was built in 1890, the city unveiled a new program that will recognize homes that are over 100 years old. If you own a home that old, you could qualify, and it doesn't have to look like this.
People in the city of Duluth are interested not only in the large mansions that attract a lot of attention, but in the ordinary homes that working people lived in. And they are interested in restoring them and at least returning them to somewhat of the character that they had when they were built.
The first people to receive recognition were Dale Lucas and Jolene Bowe. Their home hosted today's event.
It's really nice. We've always loved this home, and we loved restoring it, so it's nice to be recognized.
There are a few criteria that must be met to have your home recognized. Besides being at least 100, it must have originally been built for residential use, and it must be a reflection of the architecture of the time. The Heritage Preservation Commission, which oversees the new program, is also providing guidance to anyone interested in restoring their home. But watch out, fix up that old house, and people will notice.
Well, we've noticed since we've done a lot of our exterior work that there's a lot more drive-by interest. Cars go by and we notice that they're looking at the house.
In Duluth, Ted Rollins, News 6.
So we are, and then sometime before another year. In a nutshell, what the bill is.
Problem that it has created. And essentially what happened is the federal government has allowed a sovereign nation to have a monopoly that nobody else has, when essentially the federal government is against monopolies. So we still have some very serious legal questions here.
Fairness, are you talking about tax? And I guess their contract is running out in March. A new committee council, although we may like Joanne so well, we'll try to move it. Now we wish to testify, but Senator Bertram, you've got a bill. Do you want to just briefly run through your bill? Well,
A 36-inch water main ruptured shortly after 4 this morning. Dozens of homes between 22nd and 32nd Avenues East were flooded as water gushed down Superior Street, London Road, and onto the freeway.
I came back from Alaska not too long ago to look very much like the glacier area.
Well, it looks like the end of the world, I guess.
Homeowners rushed to save their property.
It was coming in through the closet through spigots and conduits, so we opened up the manhole cover and drained it, then called the water and gas.
Meanwhile, city water and gas crews moved quickly to turn off the flow and clean up as much of the water as possible before morning rush hour. Traffic was diverted from Superior Street and London Road. The freeway, with 4 feet of water in the tunnels, was closed from Lake Avenue to its end. By news time, all roadways had reopened except for a 6-block area in the flood zone.
Officials say repairs to the road will take at least 3 days, and while crews are working, traffic will have to be restricted, most likely to 1 lane.
That would probably mean that there will be delays in that area, so people should be advised to find alternate routes, even though Superior Street will be open.
Water and gas spokesmen say they suspect the pipe broke because it sits on solid rock, and when freezing causes the rock to shift, it ruptured. They have thought about replacing the cast iron steel with something a little more flexible, but it would be very expensive.
You have to look at the cost effectiveness of this. We're talking of a multi-million-dollar project.
Spokesmen say it appears road damage was minimal. Estimates stand at about $40,000. In Duluth, Barbara Riles, News 6.
That's just, you know, if you hear nothing but good about it.
Plans to upgrade the National Weather Service's equipment is upsetting the people of International Falls. The problem is the new system still doesn't give the falls the same coverage as places like Duluth.
The Falls is building a reputation as the nation's icebox. Accurate weather forecasting means money.
Last year we estimated it was about $6 million in direct economic benefit to the northern Minnesota communities. Here in International Falls, we're probably talking about $2 million.
Tom West is the director of the Minnesota Cold Weather Resource Center. They promote our cold weather to businesses that test their products in the region, products such as cars and batteries. West and others are objecting to the way the plan lays out radar coverage. Dick Westgard of the National Weather Service says their concerns are unwarranted.
I feel that International Falls, as well as all of the Northland, is going to have a significant improvement in the quality and quantity of service available from the Weather Service. But as far as them not having official observations, that's simply not true.
Minnesota House Speaker Irv Anderson has led the charge against the planned upgrade. Part of his objection is the shifting of 7 positions to Duluth or elsewhere. Last week, a contingent of IFAL business leaders met in Washington with Weather Service Director Albert Friday. Friday said there isn't enough money for a separate radar facility in the Falls. He promised to take the problem to the administration. The new weather radar and observation equipment will be online in 1996. The multi-billion-dollar system will collect, record, and transmit weather data every 2 minutes. The old current system does the same manually every 20. In Duluth, Chip Wallace, News 6.
The city has for some time adopted a standard of 28 feet. What the implications may be that
we do not have that situation. So I believe that the 26 feet width is a response not only to the national standards, but also to the
Henry was a hind-legged walker.
The emphasis on reading starts early here at Lincoln Elementary School and carries on from the classroom to the home. Project Read began 7 years ago at Lincoln Elementary and has since spread throughout the Twin Ports school districts. It's a program where children's reading minutes at home and school are recorded and documented, and kids are awarded for reaching goals.
If you get a certain amount of minutes, you get prizes, and it's fun, and you get to know different things about different things if you read autobiographies and stuff.
Parental involvement has been instrumental in making Project Read successful.
It's been a vehicle for us to really relate to the parent, demonstrate the importance of reading and having reading available in the home.
Project Read has some hidden benefits as well.
I do have a problem with my reading. And last year, I got really involved because I found out that it helped me reading to my kids for 10 minutes a day. It's improved my own reading.
Parent volunteers coordinate the reading slips, logging the minutes read, and keeping track of who gets prizes, many of which come from McDonald's donations. This month, the volunteers are being kept particularly busy as this is I Love to Read month throughout the Twin Ports. In Duluth, Barbara Riles, News 6.
Yes, and that's one of the things that they've tried to put a guideline on is that low, you know, if something says it's low fat, then it's going to meet the specific guidelines of being low fat.
On the words that they use on the front will be there?
Yes.
Like, do you have any idea how they might control it, or what kinds of guidelines they might put on that?
Exactly what the guidelines are.
Just something to make it mean a little bit more, is that the idea?
Skiing at Colorane's Mount Itasca looks like skiing at any resort in the Northland, but there's a big difference. Mount Itasca is a new concept in ski resorts. Small, family-focused, and inexpensive.
Adults ski for $8 for their lift pass. Students are $6. Children 5 and under ski for free with adult supervision. Ski rental is $5 for all ages. Because of all the volunteer labor and the lift being donated, we don't have those overhead costs or upfront costs to deal with.
Today was the grand opening for the Mount Itasca's new ski lift. The hill has operated for 20 years with just a rope tow. But when Sugar Hill closed several years ago, operators donated a chairlift. Local volunteers dismantled, refurbished, and rebuilt it here.
And it's nice that they allow snowboarding now. We'd like to thank them
just
for
started that.
Yeah.
Today's the first day.
Yep, first day.
Operators of Mount Itasca are hoping for a positive response from Iron Rangers. With its 6 groomed slopes, the resort can handle up to 200 skiers at a time. The hill will employ 4 people this year. They're hoping to expand with snowmaking equipment next year. In Coleraine, Chip Wallace, News 6.
To some extent, but sooner or later, you know, you got to put the melons on the table.
Because they've taken a fundamental decision here time in that area, and you've got a real handle on
Now, Clinton is like the captain of some tugboat out here on Lake Superior. It's leaking oil, okay? They're fighting in the mate's mess. The captain has lost his compass and the charts have blown overboard, but by God, he's moving out to sea because he understands that the harbor isn't safe.
This year is an increasing awareness that that both our greatest opportunity and our greatest competition these days comes from Asia. We now import 60% of our
in our community. We're very proud to have you here and congratulations.
Thank you very much. We're very happy to be here.
We do marketing across the United States right now and into Canada. We have plans of communicating marketing skills worldwide. We have the facilities, we have the equipment to do that. If it can be done with the telephone now and into the future, the equipment we have is capable of doing it.
No, I don't think so. Ready to go? Ready. Wiener Woods wood products. Now, you and I go walk out in the woods and we find pine cones and we find moss and we find little products like that that we just take for granted. They have found a niche in exporting this worldwide.
And I'm totally convinced that Duluth and Hibbing in northern Minnesota have to find a replacement carrier instead of Express Airlines.
This?
Lake Superior Magazine Achievement Award. We feel your book represents absolutely the finest interpretation of Lake Superior we've ever seen.
It's been a wonderful experience in working on the book and meeting all the people that I did around the lake. Certainly appreciate the magazine's coverage of the project.
Well, it's been a mutually advantageous thing for both of us because you're an incredible
It's hard to decide what it should be.
Okay.
You're doing fine.
But overall, it's a fact that we've been able to forge this partnership and to work with the people in Madison so that our issues up in northwest Wisconsin are clearly described and dealt with, and so that we can come away and feel that we've been participants. And so I think that we come down not only to work on that, but also to thank the people in Madison for their assistance and for the fact that they've helped us do this and build this partnership.
You're doing fine.
But overall, it's a fact that we've been able to forge this partnership.
The goal is to get students interested in engineering in a fun sort of way, and it's also to celebrate National Engineers Week.
It's called the Police Connection, a Duluth PD public relations outlet that will make the officer in blue more available as a friend of the family rather than just a cop on the street.
The whole idea is to get to meet us a little bit, find out what we're about. Hermantown, Proctor, St. Louis County, Duluth, we're all part of this community, and we want to let you know who we are.
Because of heavy foot traffic throughout Miller Hill Mall, the shopping center is a natural location for the PR facility. Crime Stoppers, DARE, and Operation ID will be promoted as well as other programs.
We're going to talk about recruiting. There's people in Duluth that maybe they don't try to become a cop, that maybe could become a cop.
Shoppers aren't the only ones who will benefit from the Police Connection. Northland kids who use the mall as a second home, they'll benefit as well. What question would you ask the police?
Like, what's it feel like being a cop, you know, if it's, like, fun, I guess?
Yeah.
Kids will have a chance to see that police are more than just out chasing them down for things. They'll see that they are actually here to help them and serve them better.
The Police Connection opens March 1st at no extra cost to taxpayers. It will operate by existing personnel, and the mall is donating the space. In Duluth, Chip Wallace, News 6.
We certainly could use a nice warm spell for at least a couple more weeks.
If you'd like this, wait till March 3rd. I think we got some real warm air moving in for March 3rd and through the first parts of March.
March 3rd. I'm going to hold you to that.
Within the next 15 to 20 years, the United States and Japan will go to war for nearly the same reason we went to war with them 53 years ago.
Didn't know any of these, candidates, but I read through and I found the ones who actually have been in that situation before, and they want to better the community through some kind of a service to it. So that's why I picked who I picked.
Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta. Youth and elders.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Youth. In response to the problem, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Dr. David Satcher, who...
Meeting. I'd like to say why the Centers for Disease and Control and Prevention and the Centers for Substance Abuse Prevention and the U.S. Department of Education thought it was urgent to put this program go through like an outrageous hairstyle. But if an adolescent can stay tobacco-free in youth and elders, Dr. Jocelyn Elders, welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Services of the Fulton County Health Department, some students from the Peer Helper Program of Cone Middle School. Whom am I speaking?
This is Jerry Yes. I'm the Tobacco Reduction Coordinator with the State Cancer Prevention and Control Program.
And Jerry, are you...
in Alaska's youth.
And where are you meeting?
We're meeting on campus at University of Alaska.
Well, I'm Tony, and I'm from Hermantown.
Okay. Now, most of you at your sites probably have in your hands a participant packet. Some of you may not because we had such an overwhelming response to the program. If you don't have one, please let your site facilitator know, and we'll try to get you one later. In this packet, though, are helpful fact sheets and resource sheets for you to use when you plan your tobacco prevention activities. There is also a handout.
Guards.
The police department funds the school patrol through donations. The city provides my services for the crossing guards in the city, but all of the recreational activities that we do for them are funded completely through donations.
Statistics are very clear, at least in my mind, that handguns, okay.
Everyone has problems. We need to join together as a group, as a community, and help our children. We're losing our children. And it's not just guns that are killing. There's knives, there's bats. I mean, if they're using any kind of weapon there is. And like I said, we need to get children involved in this violence-free Duluth. We don't just need to look around and see adults. We need to get our youth involved.
We do hear you, and we know you are really hurting, okay? But we are trying to reach them.
What they're doing when they use a gun, that they just don't understand the gravity of what a gun means?
I don't know what kids think. I think that that's what we hope to do, is to get kids in, you know, get involved with kids to find out what it is that they think. And I'm not so sure.
Business districts that they're operating.
Actually, one of the things that we've worked very hard on is to have a unified business agenda at the Capitol, which is why on our major issues relating to environment, health care, workers' compensation, taxes, and fiscal issues, we have basic agreement from local chambers statewide and our members statewide on those major issues. Chambers are expecting their local chamber to get away from the typical retail these days on the major issues. At the local level, I think members of local
We would like to have chickens that are free of salmonella, and currently that's not possible. One has to consider that any egg could be contaminated, and the way to handle it then is to make sure it's cooked well before consuming.
interest rates are at all-time lows. They're not going to go down more. They're going to increase. If you want to have this waterfront trail, complete the trail from Connors Point to Wisconsin Point would be $1.2 million. There's an estimate for approximately $500,000.
It's in the newspaper as well. There's some sort of a loud
bang, and then there's a pop of smoke, and then
And just talk to me and tell me what the fire department did for you.
Thank you so much. I think it was electrical problems that's what has happened. The girls upstairs said that they heard a bang, and then there's a huge cloud of smoke, and then there's some flames. Some of the people upstairs don't have anything.
so I thank them so much.
Is done, and we have a robotic arm that comes in, grabs the tool, and then
for women who are in the process of making career decisions. Maybe women who aren't sure what they want to go back to school for, might have been out of the workforce and out of school for a number of years, know they want to go to school and find a career in something, but they're not sure what they want to do.